Okay, we're live. All right, everyone, we should be live on the air here. This is the third installment of the Wild PCS Openness, Sharing, and Collaboration series, our free training series, and we're very pleased to have the guest that we have today. This is a area of forensics that I'm not personally that familiar with, but I can see definitely its need in the industry. We're talking about audio forensics and enhancement, and a lot of the mobile tools that we have out there do a great job of pulling out, extracting audio and from various things, whether you're doing a chip off, a JTAG, or just using the commercial tools out there. You can get the audio file, but you know what happens after that? What do you do after that? What if the file's garbled, or what if it's damaged in some way? And this solution that we have here, Diamond Cut 8 Forensics Lab, with our guest, is a fantastic way to go about restoring that audio, enhancing it, taking out the noise, and bringing the audio that you need up there, and even going further and identifying speakers. But that's a little bit advanced. We won't be talking about that necessarily today. We'll be talking mostly about the basics of audio forensics, the three disciplines that we have there. And then our guest, Mr. Crowe, is going to take us on a demonstration of DC8 and looking at audio enhancement. Before we head into the actual training, a little housekeeping things. If you're watching live, you have the ability to press a Q&A application. If you're used to using Gmail, there should be a little what looks like a little grid up in your upper right-hand corner of the video feed, and you press that. There's two applications in there. One I'm talking about now, the question and answer application. You press that, you can ask a question. The question will appear in a Q&A window. It will remain in there, and for anybody else who is attending, if that's a question that you are really highly interested in, rather than asking it again, you can +1 it. It will then, you'll vote up the question, and it'll be flagged for my my viewing, and then I can address that as an important question. The other nice thing about the question and answer app is that it does flag the video, so there will be moments in the video that the question and answer app will flag, and you'll be able to see that those particular questions were addressed at that point. When I address the questions, I'll highlight the question. It will then be highlighted for you. We'll answer the question. If we've answered it, we'll then press it, and it will then disappear. This allows me to answer questions rather than have to scroll through a bunch of windows to do that. You can then ask follow-up questions at that point. This video is also being recorded to YouTube, and will be available on our blog, which we'll talk about a little bit later. The other app that's up there in that little grid, when you press on it, is the Showcase app. I encourage you to take a look at the Showcase app. There are a bunch of live links in that application that shows up on the sidebar on the right-hand side of your video feed. These are to Mr. Crowe's two websites, Tracer Tech and Enhanced Audio, as well as to our blog. And with this video, we're launching our Audio Forensic Basic course that will feature the Diamond Cut 8 software in it. So we'll be talking about that a little bit later. You can also visit our website, our Google Plus page, friend us there. We have a number of different forensic courses that we have there that are available for you to book and deal with a variety of different mobile forensic aspects, including JTAG, Android forensics, and Forensic Explorer. But right now we're talking about audio forensics, and I'm very excited to be talking about this because I'm going to learn a lot, and I can't wait to get started. So I'm going to introduce our guest here. Our guest is Mr. Curtis Crowe. He is a leading expert in the audio forensics field. He's been around, well, a long time, and he is the co-owner and president of both Tracer Technologies and Enhanced Audio. Enhanced Audio, they do audio restoration, audio forensics, and they are the vendors for the Diamond Cut 8 Forensic Audio Lab, which is a full-featured audio lab. I'll let Curtis talk about it a little bit a little bit more, but it is quite impressive in what it can do, and the fact that it eliminates a lot of the difficult to upgrade, difficult to configure, expensive hardware, and you get the ability to do a fully featured forensic audio analysis and enhancement right on your PC using the sound cards. So he's been around, like I said, since about 1994. He's written numerous training courses and DVDs, and he's also done a lot of training with various agencies, governmental agencies around the world, including the DEA, the FBI, U.S. Army, Secret Service, you name it, three-letter agency. He's probably done that. He's also done a lot of training and consultation for prosecutors and other various law enforcement agencies. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Crowe to take us through the program. We're going to be doing approximately 45 minutes of training on the software, and he's going to talk about that. He's going to take us through an enhancement, play us some audio files, cleaned, uncleaned, that sort of thing. Like I said, talk about the basics of audio forensics. Then we'll do about 15 minutes of question and answers, and I'll be in the background. I'm going to disappear, but I'll be here. I'll be monitoring your questions. Like I said, up in that grid, you click on that, click on the question and answer app. You can ask your questions in there. If you like a question that somebody's asked, don't have to ask it again, just +1 it. It'll flag it for me. If it's really important, I'll interrupt Mr. Curtis or Mr. Crowe, and then we'll talk about it then. Otherwise, we'll leave them till the end. Without further ado, I'm very pleased and excited to introduce to you Mr. Curtis Crowe, the president and co-owner of Enhanced Audio. Over to you, Curtis.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. I'm going to try to share the screen here. All right, my name is Curtis Crowe. I'm the president of Tracer Technologies, and I've been doing, as Michael said, audio forensic type work and training for quite a number of years. Even before the Diamond Cut product was out. Diamond Cut 8 is version 8 of the software, and it's been in development for 14 years now. There will be a version 9 coming out one of these days, and we'll see exactly how long that is. We don't know for sure at this moment. As far as audio forensics, you should be able to see my screen right now. And there are 3 main areas of audio forensics. One is traditional enhancement and noise reduction. Now, there are quite a number of programs out there that have noise reduction modules, even free ones like Audacity. But these are generally aimed at the musician world, the pro audio world, and not so much at the forensics world. Musicians would typically be frightened at the poor quality audio that anybody in the audio forensics world has to deal with every day. We will get recordings all the time that are barely hearable, where you're not sure there's even a voice in there. These are quite common occurrences, and programs like Audacity really aren't up to being able to do that type of very, very sophisticated forensic audio work. In addition to enhancement and noise reduction, we also do authenticity studies as a type of audio forensics. Now, this means has the audio been edited or copied or altered in some way meant to disguise its meaning. And you will often get, especially people who've been convicted of a crime, that will try to make the point that their audio was somehow edited, that the things that were going to acquit them were magically disappeared out of the audio. This is a fairly common claim. It isn't found too often, but it has been found in the past. I had a gentleman one time, a lawyer called me that said they had done a deposition with a person, and the person says now, a year later after the deposition, that the voice in the recording wasn't theirs. Well, this was pretty easy because they had videotaped the person doing it. And so it was, there was no question at all as to who was making it. But even knowing all of that, the guy still said that someone had doctored it and changed his words around. Well, he didn't get far with that claim. So authenticity studies are another significant area in the audio forensic world. And the third, and today probably the sexiest, the one you hear the most about, is speaker identification. And this is where there's a voice left on an answering machine with a threat, or a ransom demand is called in. And we want to know if the suspect's voice matches the one on the recording. And that type of speaker ID with the diamond cut can be done to a degree, but it is not a purpose-built tool for that kind of work. The diamond cut forensics is best at enhancement, noise reduction, and authenticity studies. And I'll demonstrate both of those to you today. We're not going to talk about any kind of speaker ID issues. That's a separate and very, very somewhat convoluted specialty. Requires quite a bit of training to be able to do that type of thing successfully. Okay, now before we get really started, I would like to say if you have questions, I would have no problem whatsoever in answering them during the training. In our training classes, live classes, we typically have 8 or 10 or 12 people, and they go on for 3 days, and the students are encouraged to, when they have a question, ask it. And that helps the training in that everybody gets to share their concerns or the parts where they may be not quite getting it. And so we're able to get the training customized to their needs. So I don't mind getting a question at all. And if you've got some, feel free to ask. All right, you should be seeing my screen right now. And on it is you're seeing the yellow display is the Diamond Cut Forensics version 8. And this is like most other audio programs, if you're familiar with such things. The type of display that you're looking at right now is called a time domain display. And a time domain display simply means that this waveform that we see here, this waveform is plotted as amplitude on the vertical axis and time on the horizontal axis. The louder a signal is, the taller it will be on our display. And you can see with this signal that I have open here right now, that we've got a fairly continuous amount of energy in this file. And then at various places along it, there are bursts of other energy like this one here that we see. Okay. Now my eye, since I've seen this a million times, I know that this indicates speech. You can't be absolutely sure without listening, but I'm pretty sure if I'm just looking at this, that we have a fairly noisy file, that the noise continues continuously and throughout the file. There are no big breaks in this file that are obvious. And happily, it looks like we may have some speech that is louder than the noise. All right. The other thing I want to look at this file, and I don't know how easy it is for you to see, is down in the lower right-hand corner. This is a mono 44.1 kilohertz sampling rate 16-bit file. So in terms of the audio quality, this is a good candidate for us to do some enhancement with, if that's what we're trying to do here. On the right-hand side, we have a series of a pair of VU meters that allow us to see the instantaneous levels as the audio is played. Now I'm going to play you just a little bit of this file. With the Diamond Cut program, everything that happens to the selected area. Now this is unusual for most audio programs, and I would guess most other editing type programs as well. in that right now I have selected an area, and I'm going to bring up my time domain, my time display. This is it here. And this time display will show me the starting time here of the selected area, the stopping time of the selected area here on the right side, and the span between those, in this case, 5.18 seconds, roughly. So on the diamond cut, everything I do right now will happen on this area. So if I click play, it will play this area. I'm going to play it now, and you should be able to hear the file.
Curtis, if I might jump in, we did not hear the file.
Okay, I'm going to turn it up a little bit. You try it now.
Yeah, that's still coming through, but not as loud as when we before when we did the test.
All right, we'll try it a little louder. Okay, give me 1 second. Now, is that better? Are you able to hear it now?
Yeah, that's much better. If anybody can't hear that, just pop a question in the Q&A app. Let us know, but it sounded good on my end.
All right. I'm going to play it one more time, and the first thing that we want to do with a new file is to listen carefully to it and see what it sounds like. In this case, I'm just going to play a little bit of this. There's some speech in here, but really I want to focus on the noise here right now. So we'll listen to just this a little bit again. Okay, you can hear a voice say why, and then there's quite a bit of noise in there, quite a bit of hum and buzz. And that's what we want to attack here right now. This is the first part of our audio forensics is enhancement and noise reduction. And so here what we want to do is do some significant noise reduction on this file. Now the question is, how do we do this? What is all the rage today in the audio forensic world are a type of filters called adaptive filters. And we're going to look at those. Adaptive filters are very much almost like magic. They will attempt to separate noise from speech. And they will then attempt to attenuate the noise and either leave the speech alone or actually raise it or enhance it separately. And that's quite a good trick. And sometimes it's almost miraculous. And we're going to show you some of those here in the next few minutes. But it's always best to get started with a new tool to look at the manual way of doing things. And so that's what we're going to do here first. So I've got noise here that's quite prominent and quite annoying. If you played this in front of a jury, they would immediately focus on this hum and buzz. There's tones in here. Some of those are not very loud. I doubt you can hear them over the internet, but we're going to see them here in just a minute. So my guess is the jury would focus totally almost on that noise, and they'd get a frown on their face, and the judge would get impatient that you were playing them such crap in his courtroom. So what we want to do is try to prepare this file and make it a little bit better than it is right now. And so I'm listening to this noise, and I'd like to remove the frequencies that contain this noise, that make up this noise. But there's a problem with that. Those frequencies generally are the same frequencies that make up the human voice. And so if I just take a meat axe to those frequencies, I will damage the voice dramatically. And I'd rather not do that. In fact, I'd rather have noise generally than to damage the voice significantly. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a tool in Diamond Cut there are three types of main tools in it. One are noise reduction tools, two are enhancement tools, and three are test and measurement tools. What we're going to see right now is a test and measurement tool called a spectrum analyzer. Now, the spectrum analyzer will show us the same audio. We're looking at the waveform display here, the time domain display, but it'll show us that audio in a different form. It'll show us some frequency information about that audio. So I'm going to click play right now. My spectrum analyzer is set up to show me the entire frequency range of human hearing, and we'll just see what it shows us. All right, I'm going to set my spectrum analyzer to averaging mode. I'm going to clear it, and I'm going to play that again. What averaging mode does is it averages out things that come and go, like the speech that's in a file. The things that are transitory get averaged out over time, and what's left very prominently are things that are there the entire time. You can see these bursts of energy here, quite prominent. This is that buzz that we're hearing in the audio file. If I click at the apex of one of these, it tells me the frequency. In this case, it's showing me 59.22 hertz. And it shows me the amplitude. In this case, it's showing me minus 51 dB. These bursts of energy here are the individual frequencies that make up this buzz that we're hearing in our audio file. Up here, we see some much higher frequency bursts of energy. This one around 5 kilohertz, this one around 9, and these up 15, 12, 15, and 19. Right, these are very high-pitched tones that are in the audio as well. I have a good pair of studio monitors here, and if you're setting up a audio forensic lab, you should certainly have a good pair of headphones and a decent pair of studio monitors. Studio monitors are speakers that are designed to be pointed at your ears so that the audio hits your ears first before it bounces off all the hard surfaces in a room. In other words, the echoes of the audio. It lets you hear more accurately, and that's very important with this type of work. All right, so what our spectrum analyzer does is it uses a little bit of mathematics called an FFT. And you can see we're not going to go into any depth on any of this here, but all frequency domain tools will have some type of, will use an FFT. The purpose of the FFT here, the fast Fourier transform, is to take a complex signal and break it down into its individual frequencies. Right now you're listening to my voice. It's made up of at least thousands of different frequencies. In the real world, probably an infinite number of different frequencies. Most of those frequencies are incredibly tiny and quiet and are not discernible by your hearing, but they do all combine together, give my voice its unique characteristics. And by the way, that's why we can do speaker identification. We can measure those characteristics that are unique to me, just like my fingerprints are, so is my voice. And so a complex signal is made up of more than one individual frequency. In the real world, just about every signal that you hear will be made up of dozens. I can tell you right now exactly how many frequencies this file is, that this spectrum analyzer is tracking in this file. It is in fact tracking 8,000, a little over 8,000 separate frequencies right now. And how do I know that? Because the FFT size is set to 16,384, and the number of frequencies that it actually is tracking and plotting on the screen is 1/2 that number. 1/2 that number. So we're showing you on the screen right now a bit over 8,000 different frequencies. But as you can see, most of them are of little consequence. There's not a lot of energy in them. But these few that make up our hum and buzz are quite interesting to us, and we want to focus on those. Right now, it's a little difficult for me to see all of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the range, the frequency range of this tool. Instead of going from 10 hertz, as you see here, up to 22,000, as you see here, I'm going to change it so that we'll only look at 30 hertz, and we'll go up to only 2,000. As you can see now, my bursts of energy are more easily found. And so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them here that are quite prominent. But look, I have 7, 8, 9, 10, 4 more that aren't as prominent, perhaps even another one here. So knowing that, what I could do is I could take a piece of paper and I could make a note of this frequency, 59.22. And I could make a note of this one, 121.12, and so on. And then I could, and we will set up filters to attenuate those individual frequencies, therefore removing these tones and leaving everything else alone. There's no good audio hidden behind this burst of 60 hertz energy here. So if we attenuate that, we will also attenuate everything else that shares 60 hertz. But that's the price we have to pay. We want to make our attenuation as narrow as possible so that we don't take out any more audio than we have to. We need to get rid of this buzz, but we don't want to get rid of extraneous or other audio. Now I'm going to change the resolution here of my spectrum analyzer. We're at the lowest resolution right now, almost 2.7 hertz. And when you're measuring 50 hertz, 60 hertz, 3 hertz is 5%. So this is, it's accurate, but it is not all that accurate. So I'm going to change it to, let's say, 0.34 hertz. My display goes away because it's not got that information in its memory right now. And so I have to click play in order to recalculate the FFTs. Now, you probably noticed that it took a little longer that time to display the frequency information. And if you remember, we didn't have this much data being displayed. All of these little individual frequencies that you see here weren't displayed in this way before. The good news is that now I can click and I can get a much, much more accurate. Remember it says 59 point something before? Now it says 60.9. So I could take a piece of paper and I could write down, okay, 60.9. I could take a spreadsheet, and in the second row, I could type in 122.3. And in the third row on my spreadsheet, I could put 183 and so on, and I could list all of these frequencies. And then what I'd want to do is to go back and remove them. Now, you may notice that even at the highest resolution, it measured for this fundamental frequency. The fundamental is the very first, the lowest frequency when there is a hum or buzz. The lowest one is called a fundamental. The one above that here is twice the frequency. That's called a even order second harmonic. It's even because it's an even number. It's times 2. 60 here on the fundamental, 120 for the first harmonic, which is even order. This is 180 roughly. That's the third harmonic. That's an odd order harmonic because the 60 times 3 is 180, and 3 is a odd number. So if the harmonics are multiplied by an even number to get a harmonic, it's an even harmonic. If it's multiplied by an odd number to get the harmonic, it's an odd harmonic. And those are the two types of harmonics that we have. And in this case, as you can see, we've got both of them. It's fairly common. It's not required. And if you're lucky, your files that have hum and buzz, it will be just one harmonic. But in this case, we've got both even and odd harmonics. The other thing of interest here is to note that even at the high resolution, our fundamental frequency is 60.9. Now, this hum comes from the power line frequency. And in North America, the power line frequency is 60 hertz. It is not 60.9. It is 60 hertz, and it has got to be very, 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 very close to 60 hertz at all times. This is because there's power plants all over the country, and basically their wires connect to each other. And so when one part of the country is run short on electricity, another power plant in some other place can provide the power. But in order for that to happen seamlessly, they've all got to be what's called in phase, and they've got to have the same frequency. The tolerances here are extremely tight. And so you will not expect to see ever that your power line frequency coming into your home or office would be 60.9. It would just never happen. There'd be a blackout waiting to happen if that actually was the case. And so I'm looking at this 60.9 and I scratch my head. This is an unusual event, and one we'll study later and see if we can explain. And by the way, we will be able to explain why this is 60.9. So let's try to remove this noise before we do anything. And when I say remove, what I really mean is attenuate. We're not going to totally remove anything. If I attenuate this to the point where I can no longer hear it, or it's no longer bothering me, then we'll be happy with doing that. But if I then increase the volume, the noise isn't gone, it's just been attenuated. If I increase the volume, it'll come back. So the truthful word, the best word to use is we want to attenuate this noise. I'm going to use a filter to do that. And the filter I'm going to use is called the multi-filter. Now, in DC-8, we can use one filter at a time quite easily. And there's quite a number of them, dozens of them, each one with dozens of settings and dozens of presets for each filter. There are well over 1,100 presets in the Diamond Cut Forensics 8. But the multi-filter is generally the way most forensic experts use the program. Again, you don't have to. You can do one thing at a time, but the multi-filter is the one that most experts would use. And here what I'm going to do, in keeping with our theme of doing this the manual way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a notch filter. And I can bring a notch filter and simply drag it up into my signal path. This horizontal line is called a signal path. On the left, there's an in. On the right, there's an out. And when the audio in comes from my file. The audio out goes to my speakers. And in between those two, we can put a 1 or 20 filters in there. Now, if you're actually thinking about putting 20, you should probably rethink that. Over-filtering is one of the easy mistakes that new users of forensic audio software will make. You're always trying to make it just a little bit better, but usually adding more filters reaches a point of diminishing returns fairly quickly, and by adding more in, you typically will be starting to make things worse. So try to limit yourself. Typically 2, 3, 4 filters is going to be about optimal for most jobs. Now in this case, I can take my notch filter and I will double click it, and all the settings for this notch filter appear here. And I can set my center frequency at what? 60.9. I can set my bandwidth, and then I can click preview, and you will see in my spectrum analyzer, I'm going to clear it. Note that my 60 hertz is at minus 51 dB. I'm going to clear it, and now I'm going to attenuate or filter that frequency. Okay. Now here's my 60 hertz. It's at minus 70 dB. So we have reduced that by 19 dB. It went from quite prominent now to quite manageable. 19, every 6 dB in audio would be a halving of the volume. So here at 19, we have, if we reduced it by 6, it would be half the volume. If we reduce it by 12, it'll be a quarter of the volume. And if we reduce it by 18, it'll be an eighth of the volume. So this is only an eighth of the volume that it was before, a little bit less than that actually. So our notch filter has done an excellent job in attenuating or reducing the amount of energy in this 60 hertz fundamental frequency right here. Now, I could add another notch filter, double click it, and set it to 121.8 or whatever the reading is. And again, that would attenuate our next frequency and so on. But we don't really have to do that. I'm going to use a preset. Now notice how many presets are here. I drop this preset box. I can slide through the presets, and I choose my preset that I've saved earlier called noise identification. That's just the name of this file, so it tells me which preset I set up for it. And notice I have 5 notch filters in here right now. Each one of them set to attenuate these first 5 bursts of energy that make up our buzz sound. So I will clear my spectrum analyzer and I will click preview. Preview does not actually filter the audio. It lets you, it doesn't filter the file. It lets you hear the effect of the filter, and it lets you adjust while you're listening. So you can never be surprised by the result because you're just adjusting while you're listening. If you do something wrong and damage the voice, for example, by moving the slider too high, then you'll note that and you'll move it back down until it no longer damages the voice. Everything is done in real time while you're listening. In this case, I'll go ahead and now you can see how much we have attenuated all of these first bursts of energy here. This is the 6th one. So we haven't touched this one because there's only 5 tools in here right now. So we need to add another, a 6th, a 7th, an 8th, a 9th, and a 10th in here to get the remainder of these. But here, as you can see, we're able to put several filters in the multi-filter at one time. Now, the multi-filter shows some of the features that are in every tool in Diamond Cut 8. Every tool has a consistent set of features. Every tool has a preview button so that you can adjust that tool while you're listening. Every tool has a run filter button. That actually applies the tool on the file. Now don't worry, if we make a mistake, we can always undo to any level that we want. Every tool has a preset drop-down box and a save button to save your own presets under whatever name you want. Every tool has a bypass checkbox. The bypass checkbox allows you to bypass the filter. Many times you're listening and your head starts to swim because you've been at it a while and you begin to wonder, am I making this file better or am I making it worse? By bypassing and while you're listening, you can switch between the original and the filtered version. I'll let you hear that now. I'm going to start out with the filtered, and then I'm going to click bypass, and you'll instantly hear the original, and then we'll go back and forth a couple times. It's filtered. Original. Filtered. Okay. You see how the bypass works? All of those functions that I discussed here are in every single tool in Diamond Cut, including the notch filter. our run filter, our preview, our bypass, our save for presets, our preset drop-down box, and various adjustments appropriate to that tool. These are different, of course, for every tool. Okay, so what we've got here is a good approach to helping to attenuate this noise sample. But buzz is one of the most aggravating types of noise in that it has harmonics that can go up to 10, 15, even 20 or 30. And it would be very difficult to put in that many notch filters. So I'm going to get rid of all these. Notice all I do to get rid of a filter is to drag it out of the signal path. I can put it anywhere I want. It doesn't matter. It just disappears. I'll select my area of interest again. And now I'm going to use a little more automatic filter called a harmonic filter. Still a classic filter in that this is not something that is digital only. This can be implemented and was implemented in resistors and capacitors for just about the last 100 years. So I'll go to my harmonic filter and I'll set my frequency at 61.9 or what 60.9, I believe it was. Don't have to be that particular with the frequency setting. Okay, so we'll set this to 60.9. Don't have to be that particular with the frequency setting because our bandwidth of the notch that this is going notches that it's going to create are a little wider. They're not going to be one frequency only. They'll go from something below this to something above this. We want the notches to be as small as they can be, but we want to also capture this. For example, this burst is made up of two little pieces. If our notch is sufficiently wide, we'll go ahead and get both of them at one time. What I have here is set for, remember, even and odd harmonics. We have even harmonics, and we're going to tell it to go ahead and do 19 of them at one time. So instead of just the 5 we had up before, we'll do all 19. And we'll preview. And we'll bypass and go back to the original. Okay, that did a pretty good job, but we can still hear some hum in there. It's not as annoying as it was. The reason is that some of those harmonics, remember, are odd harmonics, and we were only removing the medium one. So I'll change to odd. Okay, again, it works, but it doesn't take care of all of them. So what I will do is I will close this one. I'll add a second harmonic filter. I'll set this one to even. And back to 60.9. And now I get rid of both of them. And bypass. Now notice we didn't damage the voice in any way. In fact, it's much more easily heard. There's still quite a bit of noise there that we can deal with other tools. We can even add them here, of course, to our multi-filter. So I think you see the way that the multi-filter works, how the spectrum analyzer works, and what's consistent with all of the filters that are in the program. One trick I will give you is that in my harmonic filter, I could, remember I had to put 2 of them in, I could set the fundamental frequency to 30 and change it to even, and I would get both the evens and the odds. If you think about it, 30 times 2 is 60, so we would get our 60. 30 times 4 is 120, so we'd get our 120. 30 times 6 is 180, so we'd get our 180. And if you continue to do the math, we'd get every one of these with one filter. And so you can hear how that did a good job with only one harmonic filter in here. Okay, I want to show you a little bit about authenticity. Remember, we discussed that the 60.9 was quite unusual. And when I see something like this, I'm always interested in trying to explain it. It may indicate that something has been done to this recording. If the client has told me that this was the original recording, and I see something like this, I wonder if he's telling me the truth. And so we're going to use a different tool here. I will double click anywhere on my waveform to select the entire displayed waveform. It's all in yellow right now, meaning that's selected. And I'm going to switch to another frequency domain tool called a spectrogram. Here's our spectrogram. And it's probably quite a confusing looking mess. Basically, what the spectrogram shows us is all three of our main types of information on a recording. It shows us the frequency. It shows us the frequency on the horizontal axis here. It shows us the time, the time on the horizontal axis, the frequency on the vertical axis, and the amplitude is how dark the signal is that's displayed. Now remember, I said that there was a tone of about 9 kilohertz. Well, there it is. We can see it now. Remember that little tiny spike on the right-hand side of our spectrum analyzer? There's that. I said there was another tone about 19. There it is. And there's various other tones in here as well, quite easily seen in our spectrum analyzer. This busy-looking area down at the bottom is our speech and our noise. And of course, that's mashed on the bottom. So let's change our spectrogram properties, and we're going to have a look at that. And I'll set my spectrogram here to focus on that 60 hertz signal. Now, the spectrogram with the settings that I'm going to show you here is quite accurate and quite high resolution. It'd be very difficult to find a higher resolution spectrogram than the one that's in DC Forensics 8. All right, so here's our spectrogram, and I'm going to change my FFT size to something a little smaller because we don't need this much resolution. This will make it calculate a little bit faster because there's fewer calculations to do. And here's the what we were able to see before. I think I'm going to make this just a little higher resolution. Let's go up to 32. And I'm going to go to linear. Okay. And what we're going to see here is a second, I think, 60 hertz signature. Yes. Here's this one here is our 60.9. Okay, this is the one that we were seeing in the spectrum analyzer, but look at this. This one is exactly 60 hertz, exactly what we would want it to be. Now I need to bump the resolution just a little bit more to make that even a bit clearer, but I don't want to take the time. Our time is running out here already. But you can take my word for it. This is quite obviously invisible. This louder one is the one that's 60.9, and this much quieter one is exactly 60 hertz. What this tells me is that this was a tape recording, and that it has been copied at some point in the past. The way it was copied was that someone put the original tape in a player and played the output of that into a recorder and recorded in a copy that way. And so the second recorder has its own 60 hertz signal that it picks up. Just about every recorder will pick this up. And it picked up the one from the tape that was on the tape. but the playback machine was slightly different speed than the record machine, the original record machine, and so the frequency was shifted up by 1% or so. That's well within the specs for cassettes, and we can see that speed difference here. We could even match this to a particular playback unit if we had them available to study. So there you see a sample of the kind of authenticity work that can be done with diamond cut forensics. Michael, I think we're getting to the 45-minute mark. Are we?
Yeah, we're actually over that right now, but I was giving you a chance to finish up. So if you're ready, Curtis, I do have a question, or I did have a question. It disappeared. It disappeared on me. Lots of things not happening. Derek, if you're still online, I believe you're the one who submitted that question. And if you could rewrite it into the question and answer slot, I will address that. For some reason, it disappeared. We're having all sorts of live broadcast fun here, so you get to see us shuffling our feet live. But actually, I have a question for you that came up when I was thinking about it. So, say you're looking to get into creating your own audio studio. You mentioned having studio monitors and headphones, you know, for your work when you do that. Yep, Derek, if you could just resubmit that, that'd be great. And if you can if you have it, copy and paste it. If you can rewrite it, that'd be awesome too. And I'll tell Curtis. But while we're waiting for you to do that, what kind of studio monitors or headphones do you recommend? Give us a recommendation if you can, from like if you're on a budget to maybe if you were to get what the best that you could get.
Well, typically, I'm going to turn just a little bit here. We're getting some feedback. Okay. Typically, Michael, we would want to get headphones that are over the ear. They don't particularly need to be expensive headphones, but they do need to be to cover the ear. And what you don't want is things like beats, where they are, they're affecting and coloring the sound. We want instead ones that are over the ear, and a good pair of either Behringer or Samson headphones is about $30, and those are quite good for this type of thing. Don't get Bose noise-reducing headphones, because again, they will color and change what we're listening to on the audio. As far as monitors, 6-inch monitor is good, 8-inch better. They'll cost about $250, and it's money well spent. Behringer, again, probably the leader out there for that.
All right, great, thank you. Derek did repost that, so I'm gonna before I move on to another question, I'm gonna talk to Derek's point here. Derek was wondering if the notch filter allowed for floating point numbers. For an example, 6.9 instead of 60, or 60.9 instead of 60. He was saying that it looks like the notch filter is a whole number only, and then you rely on the bandwidth setting to capture the 60 hertz.
Well, the notch filter, just look at it here. Let's see here. You can certainly go to 111.5, for example. No, you can't. So it is whole numbers only. But I mean, we wouldn't use the notch filter to try to remove fractions of a signal that's a fraction of a hertz wide. If it was important that we have something less than a single hertz, there are other tools that potentially could be used. But I got to tell you, and back on the class that I've actually done this with hundreds of times in the past, I don't know of a whole lot of them, but if you needed to remove such specific tiny frequency ranges, then a tool that would allow painting in the frequency domain in the spectrogram, an eraser, for example, would be a more appropriate tool. You cannot do that with the diamond cut forensics.
Okay. Well, Derek, I hope that answered your question. If you have a follow-up, go ahead and put it in the Q&A app. If anybody else has any questions, there's a Q&A app. If you go up to the upper right-hand corner of your video feed, you'll see what looks like a grid. Press on that. There's two apps in there. There's the Showcase app where we've got links to various things, links to a live link to booking the audio forensics class that we partnered up with Curtis on. That is currently available. We are doing classes in Larimer County here in Fort Collins. Great location. It'll be October, so we'll have colors in the trees, and October is a good month for beer. Fort Collins is a beer town. We've got lots of breweries, Budweiser, if you're into that thing. Lots of craft breweries, craft distilleries. So come out to the Larimer County Sheriff's Office on October. Curtis will be there to train us all, so you'll get to meet the man himself. I'm really looking forward to it. And then we have another one in Virginia. Check out the site on that. So I'm going to move to another question. So this is in relation to the question I asked before, Curtis, about the kind of brand studio monitors and headphone monitors you want. So basically your recommendation is to go as high end as you can and make sure you have one that is more or less designed for audio engineering, that kind of thing, not a commercial Beats Audio or noise reducing headphone, because it does filter out some of the sound by design. So I know when people do a lot of recordings, either voiceovers or things like that, they can have temporary or portable studios that have the soundproofing stuff on that. Do you find that that's useful when you're doing your audio forensics to kind of reduce ambient noise around you and kind of more focus the sound?
Well, not really. Most experts that do this have a lab, and and in their lab, they control the environment in there. Of course, the audio that we're given is such incredibly bad audio that the sound of a fan running in the computer is hardly matters at all. So no, I don't think you need to worry about soundproofing foam or any of that kind of stuff. Basically, most experts I know, and I know lots of them that do this full time and testify in court often, they just have a normal office like anyone would have. They've got powerful computers. They've got the diamond cut software and usually 2 or 3 other packages, and then they have other tools that they use for whatever other specialties they're in. But there are a few guys that focus totally on nothing but audio forensics, but lots of people who do computer forensics, cell phone forensics, audio forensics, video forensics, they're kind of jack of all trades.
Okay, great. Another question we have here is that in your experience, when you're doing enhanced audio, otherwise altered audio, do you have any problems in court? Have there come up anything with judges not allowing it, challenges by attorneys that this isn't the true audio, that sort of thing?
Well, this type of thing where an attorney might argue that, well, yeah, you filtered this audio, so therefore you've changed it. That's kind of been decided, and it's not really an issue much anymore. Usually it would only come up if the people involved in the trial are inexperienced with audio evidence. But regardless, the expert, whether it be prosecution or defense expert, law enforcement personnel, government personnel, whoever's testifying, normally will say, that what they have done simply designed to clarify and make the plain meaning of the audio more apparent. Nothing has been changed, added, or removed that would affect in any way the plain meaning of the words that you're listening to. And I mean, that's of course the truth. You testify to that. It's up to the judge to decide what to allow, but I haven't heard of anybody having any issues with filtering of audio or enhancing for quite a while now. It's an accepted part of what judges are used to.
Okay. As far as what you're seeing as a normal user for your software, is it law enforcement, federal agencies, corporate, or who's the normal?
Well, it's all the above. We have law firms that do this with some regularity. Security departments in corporations that use this. If you run a series of stores and you have video cameras and microphones, you are going to have poor audio that's going to be needed to be enhanced sooner or later. Of course, we've got law enforcement. I was just training at a local county police department yesterday or the day before, and I've been to Quantico and spent 3 days training all the FBI audio experts there on the use of diamond cut. And so we have lots of federal agencies that use it, but it's priced cheap enough. It's $1,500 that that local law enforcement can afford it as well.
Okay, great. Thanks, Derek, for pointing out that the feedback might be coming from my machine. So I muted myself there, and hopefully that helped the audio a little bit. I can't help it when I'm talking. I've got to obviously do that. I'm going to ask two more. We'll take two more questions. How about if I have a really super bad recording? You kind of answered this a little bit in your discussion. I got a super bad recording. The person is kind of drowned out by such a loud noise you can't really even hear them. Are you able to use your techniques, your software to raise that voice out of it? And I'll even expand on that question either. I had a real life question from somebody the other day, and it turns out that they think that the software, the recording for this person might have been altered. In other words, the person took the recording from the smartphone, a conversation that went back and forth, and basically they were recording the conversation, and when it came to the part that they didn't want somebody to hear, they lowered the volume and then they raised the volume back up. Is that something that you were able to bring out the full? And I'm assuming that there's probably an indication there that you would either be able to hear if they were to stop the audio altogether, you'd either be able to hear that happening, or you could probably bring the lower portion of that audio up to hear the original. So there's kind of two questions in there.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be lucky if somebody was ham-handed enough to simply reduce the volume on a on such.
Well, that actually is the scenario as was described to me.
Yeah, well, so, you'd be lucky because yes, you could bring that now very quiet audio back up to full volume as if they'd never done anything. So, yes, you could certainly do that. There's a competitor's company who has a demo where there's a man talking and a woman talking and a man talking and a woman talking, and you can't even hear the woman, but she's still there. All they've done is reduce the volume of the woman until she's no longer audible, but then they increase the volume of the woman and magically she's back. So that's no big trick. You could certainly do that. I forget the other half, Michael. Oh, I remember now. It was about the if the noise is so much louder than the signal, what's the odds that the program would be able to handle that type of thing? Well,
yeah, like say on a body camera or a wire or something like that. Something passed by them, or they drowned it out. Could you bring the audio back up?
Well, it depends. I mean, we never know, and no expert can tell you. I get calls at least every day that says, "Yeah, I've got this recording, and yeah, I can hear the voice in there. It's very faint, very weak, and I know you got some magic tool that would bring it out." Well, no one can tell you or anybody that they're capable of recovering a voice until they actually able to hear the audio and hopefully study it. There's no way that your description is going to let me know that it is possible or impossible to do. It's got to be studied. And I would say that if there's an incredibly loud noise and there we know there's a voice behind it, if it is a buzz, for example, buzz is a regular group of bursts of energy, as we saw, then yeah, there's a good chance we can recover that. If it is way far away from the microphone so that there's almost no energy that reach the microphone, then the odds of being able to recover that are pretty remote. A low volume recording in the digital world is a low resolution recording in the digital world. And trying to bring something like that up in volume simply results in a low resolution, louder recording. Still not understandable. So the answer is it depends. I've seen some things that are bordering on miraculous, but usually it's not good news when the signal is so weak you can't even hear it behind the noise. But it is not impossible, and we'd want to try it to be sure. And that's the good thing. If you know what you're doing in a relatively short period of time, you'll know if it can be done or not. And so it's easy to give that type of answer, whether it can be done.
Okay, great. Thank you. Apparently it was my computer, and I apologize for that. There's not much I can do having to talk here. So one more question before we run a little bit over, but one more, this great information I wanted to keep going. One more question comes from Derek again. He wants to know the average cost and licensing model for Diamond Cut 8. He likes the layout, and he's looking to make a quote. And is it dongle licensed? I believe it's software licensed. Isn't that correct, Curtis?
Yeah, there is no dongle. It comes with a unlimited use license. In other words, it doesn't expire at any point. There are no yearly maintenance fees. The price is $14.99, and Michael's going to have a combination of the class and the software available as a bundle. I'd probably say a little bit if you do it that way. And there is no dongle. The license allows you to put it on all the computers in your lab, including your laptop, but it requires it to be used by one user at a time. So if you've got 3 experts in your lab, you need 3 licenses. But if there's 1 expert in your lab and he has 3 computers, you can put it on all 3.
Great. Yeah. Derek, if you want to contact us, like Curtis said, we have a training software bundle. You save about actually between $500 and $1,000 doing it that way. You can contact us for that. We are selling the software too if you want it alone, but I definitely would recommend getting the training and the software at the same time. As you can see, fully featured application. So I'd want to learn how to use it as well, as well as having it. It's a great addition to the toolkit, and definitely give us a jingle. You can see we have the URL up on there right now. The 2 classes we got, one here in Fort Collins in October, and then one in Springfield, Virginia in November. So there's 2 opportunities this year. We anticipate more into 2016, and just give me a jingle. Give us a jingle at Wild PCS Mobile Forensics. If you're thinking about training a lot of people, we can discuss arrangements on that. But definitely have it listed up there. And I would really recommend the bundle situation, because you're going to be getting a lot more bang for your buck that way. So, like I said, we've run over about 10 minutes. I really appreciate Curtis coming online. I know we had a few snafus, and we're on a live broadcast. I apologize. I'm only human. Mea culpa on those. This is being rebroadcast to YouTube, so I will be sending out emails in that regard. And you'll be getting that. But I'm going to do a drawing real quick. I do want to give away a free seat to one of the registrants on the event, and it's good for anytime we hold a class, whether it's here in Fort Collins, and whether it's in Springfield or wherever we have it, one of our 5 locations across the United States. We've even got a location up in Canada, so if anybody's watching us from Canada, we can even put it up there for you. So we also do look at hosting, so that's also an option for you as well if you want to host if it doesn't work out. But each of our 5 locations in the United States is close to a major transportation center, so you might want to do it there. So without further ado, I am generating my random number, and looking at it is number 61, and on my spreadsheet of registrants, that looks like James Karen is the winner of the free seat, and I will be sending off a notification to that. That's just for the training only. The software is an additional purchase, but like I said, you're saving about $1,000 when you bundle it all together. So that's James Karen. Congratulations! Thanks to everybody who made it to the live broadcast. It is being rebroadcast. Thank you, Derek, for your last comment, and I'll just read this for Curtis. He says it's a great tool and thinks the training is key to us, and he's going to keep in touch with us. So thanks a lot, Derek. Thanks for showing up. Thank you again, Curtis. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. And I look forward to talking to you in the future. Take care, everyone.